Y'all can relate, eh? Well, one or the other. I ain't calling you fat. You could be furious, right? That's right. We're going to see what we're talking about here in a minute. We've been going through and talking about some obscure Bible characters. We've talked about some ones that you might not have heard of. We're going to talk about another one here today. We found in Judges chapter 3, starting in verse number 12. We're going to talk about a guy. It looks like his name is Ehud, but actually it's pronounced Ahud. And I can't say it. Ehud. It comes out Ehud. So I'm going to call him Ehud. And he's dead, so I don't think I'll offend him. All right? So let's learn from him. Let's talk about him for a minute. But first, I want to tell you about one of his ancestors, a fellow named Benjamin. And we ain't got to turn to this. This is found in the book of Genesis. And it says when they left Bethel, Jacob and his clan, they moved toward Ephrath. And this is in Genesis 35. But while Rachel was still, while they were still a long distance away, Rachel went into labor. Okay? So here you got Jacob and his wife, Rachel, his first wife, I think, and or second wife. Anyway, she's going into labor, and she's about to die because of the childbirth. So when she gives birth to this kid, she looks at him, and she calls him Ben-Oni, which means son of my sorrow. And then the daddy comes in the door right as the wife is dying. Rachel's dying. She dies, and he's like, ooh, what's his name? We call him Benjamin. Because I don't know where y'all come from, but Jamin is a lot better than Oni, right? I mean, what would you want to be named? Benjamin or Ben-Oni? Right? So Benjamin is the most proper, bestest name. Because Benjamin means son of my right hand. And son of my right hand, y'all, is a lot better than son of sorrow. Okay? Being somebody's right-hand man, being seated at the right hand of God, y'all, this is a prominent place. Benjamin wound up becoming one of the more popular and prominent leaders of the tribes of Israel. You know, there's 12 of them. Benjamin was one of the more prominent ones. And also, he was one of Ehud's grandparents. Well, let's talk about this. When Jacob renamed him and he called him the right hand, you know, Benjamin's tribe was noted as being the tip of the spear, the most ferocious warriors. These people were not known for being just sorry. They were fighting men. They were fighting men that were excellent. They were like the Spartans of that day, or the Marines that we know. That's kind of how they were. They were the first to go into a place whenever there was a battle. And that ain't a son of sorrow. That's the right-hand man. That's the one with power. He almost got a wrong name, old Benjamin did, but we ain't talking about him. In Judges 3, starting in verse 12, let me read this to you. Judges 3, starting in verse 12. Once again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Because they did this evil, the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel. Have any of y'all ever seen the old the Hobbit movie? You know, from Tolkien. And they made it a few years ago. It's like to go along with the Lord of the Rings. In that movie, there was a goblin king, and this guy was super duper fat. Any of y'all ever seen that? All right. From the title, Eglon is the fat, and Ehud is going to be the furious. Remember that, okay? So anyway, the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel. Okay? Getting the Ammonites and the Amalekites to join him, Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of palms. That's Jericho. The Israelites were subject to Eglon, king of Moab, for 18 years. 18 years, God gave power to Eglon to rule over Israel. For 18 years, God gave this man the power to rule over his people. Why? Again, the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them a deliverer named Ehud, a left-handed man. Why does the Bible right here say that this man was left-handed? Could it be important? Could it be that whenever something is written in the Bible, it is important? Or are things just thrown in there just willy-nilly? There's something to it, right? The left-handed man. From his grandpa, the right-handed man. Y'all see where we're going today, right? We're talking about southpaws. My daughter is a southpaw. Yep, weirdo. Do you know when you were born back in biblical times and you were left-handed, you were considered disabled? If you could not do things with your right hand, you couldn't hold the sword with your right hand and put your shield on your left arm, if you were not like everybody else, then you were a weirdo. They didn't let you in the army because you were left-handed. Because they couldn't have everybody line up and they'd be like, all right, draw swords, and everybody draw their swords the same, but you're over here, the other way. Can't have that. Never mind, you're just walking up to each other and hitting each other with sticks. We can't be having no left-handed people out here on the battlefield. That's bad, right? Well, anyway. Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Gera the Benjamite, the Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. Now, Ehud had made a double-edged sword about 1.5 feet long, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. Y'all hear that? Sword about that long. That's not a sword. It's not. It's not. Not unless you were 2 feet tall. That's not a sword. That's just a little poker, right? But look at what he did. He put it right here on his right thigh. It couldn't have been much longer. His kneecap would have looked weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. Imagine that. You sit down and a sword pops out of your knee. You having trouble there, bro? You need some Voltaren cream? Fix that right up. Nope. Guess what? Nobody saw it, and nobody was looking for it, because if ever there was an assassin or a soldier that was coming in and had a secret blade, we know everybody's right-handed, right? So it would have to be right here so he could just grab it and pull it. Nobody's looking right here for a blade on anybody. Nobody wears a blade right here. It's way over here. I love that this worked. This is just so God. Look at what this man did. He had this double-edged sword about 1.5 feet long, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. And he presented the tribute to Eglon, the king of Moab, who was a very fat man. If the Bible says that you are a very fat man, you're probably a very fat man. Right? You're probably not, bloated, carrying water weight, He was just a very fat man. So, after Ehud had presented the tribute, he sent on their way the men who had carried it. So he told his guys, y'all get out of here. At the idols near Gilgal, he turned himself back and said, oh, by the way, I have a secret message for you, king. Curiosity killed the cat and the very fat man. And if you didn't know the story, let me tell you. The king says, quiet. And all his attendants left him. I'm finna get to hear a secret. And he's already brought me some presents, tributes. And now he's got a secret to tell me? This is going to be a great secret. Let me see what he's got to say. What do you got for me? Come on, Ehud or Ehud. What you got? What you got, Ehud? He's like, I got a secret. All the guys left. Ehud then approached him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his summer palace, and he said, I got a message from God for you. King got up out of his seat. Ehud reached with his left hand, and he drew the sword from his right thigh and plunged it into the king's belly, the king's very large fat belly. That's the sound it makes. Even the handle sank in after the blade. That's some fat right there. Look, 18 inches. That's going to poke out the back. Unless his belly was out to here. Right? He was a very fat man. 18 inches been about right there. But there was so much suction on it, it sucked the blade up. He's like, that guy's so fat, he swallowed the holes. It doesn't say that the handle went into his belly. He stabs him and then it just, whoa. That man's belly just sucked his sword up. Well, this small stick right into his fat. Oh. Well, it said even the handle sank in after the blade, which came out his back. Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. Well, the Bible is just real graphic about this fat guy. Then Ehud went out to the porch, as you do when you stab somebody. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him, and he locked them. And after he had gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. So they said, he must be relieving himself. Oh, the doors are locked. He must be in the bathroom. Never mind, their job was to protect the king. That guy had a secret. And now he must be using the bathroom. These guys right here, they should open up a service for like protecting people. So they waited to the point of embarrassment. But when he did not open the doors of the room, they took a key and unlocked them. Then they saw that their Lord had fallen to the floor dead. While they waited, Ehud got away. He passed by the idols and escaped to Sarah. And when he arrived there, he blew a trumpet in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites went down from the hills with him leading them. And he said, follow me, for the Lord has given Moab, your enemy, into your hands. So they followed him and they took possession of it. And these guys were able to win how God wanted them to. It said in verse 29, at that time they struck down about 10,000 Moabites, all vigorous and strong. Not a man escaped. It said that day Moab was made subject to Israel. And then the land was in peace for 80 years. Because this one man did what God called him to do. He freed the people. Right? All right, I'm going to probably start preaching in just a minute. First thing I want us to notice right here, if you'll look back in verse number 12, go back to the very start. Somebody might need to hear this today. Understand this. Because they did evil, because the Israelites did evil, God gave the enemy power over them. Now, if I'm looking for hope today, and I read in my Bible that God makes the enemy stronger, that don't sound very hopeful. Now, does it? There are times when God will allow your enemies to get stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where your victory seems unlikely. That way, when it happens, there's no mistaking where that victory came from. You didn't figure it out. You didn't work it out. You didn't make it out. God did it. And sometimes God lets our enemies become so strong that we finally realize that we cannot beat them. Can you beat Satan on your own? No. But he's no match for God. Well, maybe you're in a season that you're facing where it seems like you're going through some long-term stuff. Maybe you've been going through something for so long. Maybe it's fruitlessness. Maybe you've had some long-term sickness or addiction or brokenness, maybe long-term pain. Maybe you've been overwhelmed for a very, 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 very long time. Maybe you've been super stressed and worried and not able to just get over it. And it's like, how am I ever going to get over this if God is letting the enemy get stronger? Eglon grew for 18 years. God gave him power over Israel for 18 years. 18 years is a long time for the enemy to just keep growing and growing and growing. And notice what the Bible says. It describes him as that he got fat. He got very fat. So fat that he sucked the sword into his gut when he got stabbed with it. He grew fat because he was feeding off of Israel's fruitfulness. He was eating off of God's chosen. Satan will eat off of you. And he will take everything away from you that you are trying to use to grow in grace, grow in the Lord. And he's going to suck it away from you and get as fat as he can so that you ain't no match for him. But if we would just hang on a little bit longer, the Lord may be allowing that person, that thing, that illness, that loneliness, he may be allowing it to build up, but it's just a setup. He is setting you up for a victory that is going to be more jaw-dropping, going to be more spectacular, going to be, without a doubt, nobody can be praised for it except for him. And it's coming. The greater the enemy grows, the greater the victory is. God is going to deliver you. Just like he delivered Ehud. Just because the enemy's big and bad, they're nothing compared to God. Your enemy's gaining weight, you're gaining muscle, right? Your enemy's gaining time on the job, but you're gaining life wisdom. This thing has been going on in your life for a very long time, and God has been getting you ready to overtake it. You do not live your life without hope, because God gives us hope, right? Long time, long time, long time. Ehud, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. The anomaly is that he's a left-handed fellow, and God has chosen somebody that's considered handicapped to do his will. Now, I don't know who needs to hear this today, but I want you to pay attention to how God gains victory in this. See, he is a left-handed man from the tribe of the son of the right-handed. He is, I guess we could just call him a weirdo. We got any weirdos in here? I mean, have you ever been considered weird? Different? Special? Unique? I mean, there's a lot of words we can throw at it. Some of them will get me fired, but, you know, whatever word you want to apply to you and your uniqueness, you do understand that God made you you. God's the one that gave you your uniqueness, your specialness, if you want to call it that, your handicap. God made you the way he made you. And his Bible says that he made us in his image. Does God make mistakes? Does God make mistakes, church? No. He made you, and you are exactly who you are supposed to be, as special as you might be. You know, look at how Ehud gained this victory. He made a sword, a tiny sword, a tool that was just the right size for the job. No doubt he was guided by the Holy Spirit to make a sword exactly right. No doubt this man grew up doing things with his left hand. I mean, when he was little, he was probably eating little Hebrew pebbles out of a bowl with his left hand with some kind of little wooden spoon or something, you know. And he's getting at it, and he starts developing that left hand, and all of a sudden, everybody else, They getting struck out by that pitcher when they're playing a little Hebrew baseball, but he steps up and he's left-handed. And he's like, what? I ain't never threw to no left-handed guy before. And he can't strike him out because he's freaked out. He can't do it. Do you know that a baseball player is 54% more successful being left-handed than they are right-handed? It's not a lot, but it's enough. And in baseball, I mean, you ain't got to be great. You just hit 3 out of 10 and you go to the Hall of Fame. You know, that's not really great. But the lefties, y'all, there's some folks that can hit both ways, left and right. I've tried hitting left-handed. I look like it's not right. I can't swing through, you know. I just can't. Y'all ought to see me swing James Gallup's golf clubs left-handed one day. My ball was like up against a tree where I couldn't hit it, so I said, let me borrow you 7. I get over there, and I have never swung a golf club left-handed. Bat is hard, all right? But a golf club, I was like, how do I lock my hands this way? This way, this way, this way. Try to swing that thing. I used a foot wedge on that one. This is a foot wedge. There's your ball. Foot wedge. Can't miss, right? One stroke. My excuse, if I put the time into, I could have got it. I'm hurrying up for you. This guy walks in and says, I got a secret. I got a secret. And everybody's curiosity is like, oh, please do tell. What is this secret? What is this secret? The king even is like, everybody out. I need to hear what the secret is. I'll tell you this. Since Ehud was such an unexpected guy, an unexpected hero, he was so overlooked. Nobody saw him as a threat. And you may be weird enough that nobody considers you a threat. You may be weird enough that the devil don't even consider you a threat. Yeah, you may be. Weirdos. Weird? When you're little kids, you start getting called weird because you do weird things. It may be eating boogers or running around just rhyming everything. Who knows? Kids are weird, right? Hey, you were all kids one time and you were all weird. Some of you ain't never growed out of it. The way it is. Still weird to this day. Some of you are going to be a weird old man. I become an old man this week. I'm hollering at kids from the porch. Get off of my lawn! The enemy may not see you as a threat. You may be seen as weak. He may consider you handicapped. The enemy may look at you and he may see you as less than. Perhaps he's been beating up on you for so long that the enemy's not worried about you no more. You've had this long-term illness in your life where you have been considered by yourself to be less than, and it has crippled you. You might be exactly what God needs. Weirdos. The truth of the matter is that, unbeknownst to the enemy, you may just be left-handed. And it's time you learn how to fight left-handed. Satan is coming at us the same way that he always has. Temptation, validation. Come on, you just want to just dip your toe in there. It's fine. But then you whoop out that little bitty tiny sword from your right thigh, and he didn't see it coming. Forgot about me, didn't you, devil? That's right. Ultimate weirdo here. God has given you the role of your life. Something that only you can do. Something that you are equipped to do. You know, you may not feel like you're normal. You may feel awkward. You may not feel like you fit in. You may feel like a square peg trying to go into a round hole. You may feel like people don't understand you or don't get you or something like that. But I want to encourage you this morning. You need to quit trying to fit in. Okay? Quit trying to fit in with a bunch of other people that are struggling probably more than you are. You be you. You do you. You do what God has created you to do. Ehud, he didn't worry about becoming right-handed, becoming more useful in the military or nothing. He was who he was. And people cast him aside, and he wound up defeating the enemy. And in 80 years of peace. You know, there's an old saying that says you're not supposed to fit in, you're supposed to stand out. And with a creator and a God like we got, his creation should be standing out, right? It should be making some noise and telling secrets. You know, you might have been hidden on purpose. God might have had you laying low for a long time. He might have had. It may be time that you've been hidden long enough. It's time for you to remember. If God's called you to it, he'll get you through it. And you've become left-handed. Now you're ready to fight. Now, God, why did you make me left-handed? Why have you done this? What have you seen in me that I have not seen in myself yet? You tell God that. I'm sure Ehud told God that. You know, if you ever think that you have a weakness or a disqualification, something that leaves you out, I want you to understand this. Moses stuttered very bad, so much so that he could not deliver the message that God gave him. He had to get his brother to come do the talking for him. Samson, great man of God, wound up defeating the enemy finally. He was a very undisciplined man for a long time. Peter had a temper. It would get him in trouble. And he would always just react in the most violent way sometimes. Ehud, when he was called by God to do what he was called to do, he did it exactly how he was equipped to do it. Nobody else could. And you look what happened. The fat guy met the furious guy. Who won? You know, left-handed folks, I think these all were left-handed people because they were all unique. Maybe you can't sing like somebody on the radio. Maybe you can't preach or teach a class. Maybe you're not there yet. But let me tell you something. You can do what God has called you to do, and you can fight left-handed. You can be overlooked. You can be unlikely. You can be unexpected. And you can win the victory. One victory. What you can do by you staying true and you never giving up is that you can inspire other people to get into the fight. Ehud provided his people with 80 years of peace. And these people started getting into the fight because he was in the fight. What did he do? He went in there and killed the king, and now all we got to do is pick up the pieces. And we could take out this place. They killed 10,000 soldiers. They were outnumbered. They didn't have no fat king telling them what to do. They had this left-handed soldier in there, leading the way with belief and power. What can you not do? Far too long you've been told you ain't good enough, or that you can't. God says you can. Who would win if you win? If you win, you get one victory. You could lead others to join this fight. You could inspire people to join this fight against the evil that Satan is trying to bring out into this world. Folks, we're watching on the TV now, and it's nations at war, and people fighting for their homes and stuff, and other people just watching and don't care. I believe there's an Ehud coming out of this. Might be out of your house. It might be somebody ready to stand up and fight, finally, for something. God's been priming you and getting you ready for this fight for a very long time. It's fighting all around us. You could be the key to overthrowing the evil around you. You could be the key to a coup, leading other people away from sin and into a revival. You could do that. If Ehud did it, then you can do it. There's plenty of fat people out there just waiting to be poked. Demons. You could be the key. Your win could set everybody free. I know that we look in the Bible and we read these stories about these people, and it's very amazing how we have the same God with the same plan, with the same mission. It was right here. He's going to do this with one of you. One of you are going to realize what you are capable of doing one day, and you're going to get into God's hand, and there's going to be a victory won. Your life is going to be turned around, your relationships. I mean, if he did it with this guy who was disabled, why can't he do it with you who are able? Right? This guy wasn't nobody. He wasn't nothing special. He was cast out. He was disregarded. He wasn't no good. And yet this man brought 80 years of peace to the people. If he can do that with that guy, why can't he do it with you? Why can't your family become Christians? I'm talking about your whole family. Why can't they? Why can't you wake up in the morning realizing the hope that we have because Jesus Christ lives? Man, I heard a song this morning that said, you're going to live forever somewhere. Do you know where? I'm like, hey, that's for real. Your soul ain't going nowhere. Once it was created and it breathed life into it, your soul ain't going to die. It's going to live. But where? God loves you. He wants you to live with him. And while we're here, he's got stuff for us to do. Fun stuff. Hard stuff. But worth it stuff. During this time, has God called you to do something? Has he laid a sin on your heart that's been in the way? Has something been plaguing you for a long, long time, and God's laid it on your heart this morning? Stand up and fight left-handed. You can win. So what's been holding you back for far too long? Break free from it today, all right?